what should I be looking for?
First is location, quite honestly. We do it from start to finish. The construction time is usually about 3 months. This total project cost 125,000 with the appliances. The upstairs we spent about 20. The downstairs is about 100. Wires are a little bit tough to make them perfect, but it's a lot better than on the left hand side there. Now a lot of times I'm talking people out of things because it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and I'm really excited for today's video where we're going to be talking about contractors, contracting, as well as how to do legal income basement suites. If you guys are in Ontario, Canada, you'll know this is a very hot topic. In fact, there's a ton of investors in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton areas that have made this their primary business model, taking a regular family home, putting an income suite in the basement, and taking it from a property that can't cash flow into a cash flow beast. So in today's video, we're going to go right to the source and talk to John from Blackjack Contracting, and he's going to break down for us exactly how he and his team of contractors go about doing legal basement income suites. Now, this is an area I do not have a lot of expertise on, so I was really excited to bring John on because my market here in Ontario, London, Ontario specifically, the fundamentals just don't make as much sense. But once you get into his area, St. Catharines, Hamilton, Brantford, and Toronto and other regions, it makes a lot of sense and a lot of dollars for the investors that go about implementing this business strategy. So in today's video, we're going to show you real life examples of projects John has done as well. We're even going to talk about the dollars. So contractors are key to our long-term success as real estate investors, but if you can't find the right contractor, the right power team member, you will always struggle as a real estate investor. So I'm really excited to bring John on the channel and just kind of learn what should we be doing when it comes to our legal basement income suites.
What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about legal basement suites. And so I don't know a lot about this, so I'm actually bringing in an expert. So I've got John from Blackjack Contracting here with me. Hey, John, how's it going?
Great, buddy. How you doing?
Good. So I'm really excited to have you on the show today to talk about basement suites because very popular topic, especially in the GTA where you're based out of, where everyone kind of wants to start doing those basement suites. One of the best ways to maximize your return on a property, or if you're looking to house hack, also an amazing angle there as well. So you guys do a lot of these basement suites, right?
Yes, sir.
Any thoughts on why they're becoming so popular? And are you doing these mainly for homeowners or investors, or is it a combination?
Mostly investors, and I think they became so popular because it's really the only way to cash flow these days and get some forced appreciation. And so, yeah, I mean, working with the investors is that they can get some healthy cash flow where they'll single family be like cash flow neutral. So that's why I think they became so popular.
Makes sense to me. And so where are you mainly doing most of your basement suites? Do you find is it a certain city or is it all across?
You know what? We're into Brantford, Hamilton, St. Catharines, Welland. Welland became a real hot spot for them. Hamilton's always been. It's just harder to find that property because of the higher purchase price. Welland was a really hot market because they had some low purchase prices, and then all of a sudden they got real popular real quick, and the market shot up. Brantford's really popular right now. Still some great values out there, and then there's St. Catharines, which I could talk about forever. They just have a terrible building department, but a lot of them there, so it's still a hot spot. It's just very difficult.
Gotcha. So I'm just kind of browsing through your website here. So you've kind of broken down all the different kind of things we need to consider here and kind of how you help execute in regards to doing these. So do you mind just kind of laying it out for us? You guys from start to finish can kind of take on a project?
Yeah, so most of the time we're start to finish. Half the time we are actually there during the purchase of the property. I'll get the drawing set up, the permit set up for them, and then as that process gets going, we take over from there, and we do it from start to finish. Usually what we'll end up doing is we'll do a tiny bit of a cosmetic facelift to the main floor. We'll get that rented as soon as possible, and then we get firing on the basement. It's usually about a 3-month process. Depending on the city, the permit times could be varied, but the construction time is usually about 3 months. And once we get going, we'll get the place cleaned out, get it framed, and then a good chunk of the time is spent in the trade stage to get the electrical, plumbing, HVAC. I'm an electrician by trade, so those ones I care about the most. A lot of people don't because it's not the pretty part, but it's important.
Absolutely.
And then once you get through all your inspections, start drywalling, you could finish a place in about a month. So it's the pretty part's actually the fastest part of the project.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'm going to jump over here now to your blog where you guys actually have documented some great projects. So I'm kind of excited because we can talk about these in the abstract, but I know my audience is really going to want to see like specific projects. So first of all here, guys, there's some great videos I encourage you to check out. We won't watch them today per se, but we've got a good gallery of photos to kind of walk through. So do you remember this project, John? And can you just kind of tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so this is a Welland property. This particular investor, we've done 7 with, and he got really big into the Welland market, and he's done really well with it. So this house was like a grandma special, really good shape. Like it was beautifully kept up, but it was just dated. So on the main floor, a nice paint job. The customer wanted to save the hardwood, so we did, but we painted out the trim. This one right here, we had to do a bunch of electrical work. It was a lot of ungrounded wiring, so we fixed that up, fixed the plumbing. We added, as you can see in that photo, we added an electrical panel to the main floor, so the tenants are paying their own hydro, which is excellent for the investor. 99% of the investors decide to do that. It's a hard decision. So this one, we gutted the bathroom out, got that all fixed up. It was just dated, and it turned out pretty. And then, as you can see, that's a brand new kitchen. Floor to ceiling cabinets, ripped out the bulkheads, and that door that you see at the end of the hallway where it usually leads downstairs, that's now the laundry. So tenants have their own laundry. They have no mixing with tenants. They pay their own hydro, got brand new appliances, pot lights, and that one he ended up renting that one to a short-term 6-month tenant. He ended up getting $2,500 a month for the main floor for 6 months. So he was pretty happy on that one.
That's amazing. And this was in Welland, right?
In Welland, yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I took a short-term lease on it, and then I think the customers are the tenants are planning on building a house, so it was a stopgap for them, but it worked great. And then, as you can see, this basement was beautifully clean. But so if you guys notice on the left-hand side, there's a bulkhead with ductwork running along the wall.
Yeah,
we have a head height issue there. So the biggest challenge with basements is your head height. You have to maintain a minimum 6'5", but they want around 6'11". So what we did is we relocated the furnace and moved the ductwork to underneath the kitchen, where the head height wasn't an issue. So this customer decided, he put a little bit of extra money in upgrades. He put in some balances, nicer tile, nicer fixtures, but he's getting excellent rent for these basements with long-term tenants. So I'm really happy this one turned out. This one right here is that's their nice living space. So they have open. We put a beam in across things so they could have an open concept living room kitchen. And down at the end of the thing, there's a staircase. So we reconstructed the wall. We're one of the few people, we like to use commercial carpet on the staircase because it's less slippery. And it lasts for about 5 years, and it only costs about $300. So it's something you do have to replace every once in a while, but there's less chance of falls and slips. So we've been really getting into that lately.
Gotcha.
And then this is just, nice bathroom. None of this is high-end materials. It's all builder's grade, but you make it look as good as you can, and it's durable. Nice. And then we typically do the same thing: white subway order in and put a pot light in whenever we can. New tub, deep vinyl tubs, and we haven't had one sit on the market, so they're pretty well.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and those little extra details, right, really go the extra mile.
And that costs like $60. Right. That's a small bedroom. You can see the floors, vinyl flooring, wood trim, nice doors. All of this stuff is builder's grade. We use the same paint color, the same floor, the same trim, unless the investor requests something different. But the system we came up with.
Yeah, this is what pretty much every one of my rental properties looks like as well, if it's been renovated.
So there you can see the electrical panel at the end. That's the original location. So that feeds the basement now. Windows. And then this is some pictures of the upstairs again. Where
Gotcha.
Painted out.
So I know immediately my audience probably has the wheels are spinning in their head now, and they're like, okay, I know where Welland is. This looks like amazing quality of finish. So are you willing? Can you share a little bit? Like, what would a project like this cost? You know, taking grandma's house where we're renovating the full upstairs in essence and pretty well everything in the basement.
No problem. Yeah. So this is an 1,100 square foot house. So the square footage will have a little bit to do with the price compared to this one. So this is a nice big house. This total project cost $125,000 with the appliances. So the upstairs we spent about 20. The downstairs is about 100.
Hey YouTube, Matt here. Just want to quickly interrupt and let you guys know, John from Blackjack Contracting, he's actually a real guy. And so I really encourage you guys, if you're looking for a contractor you can trust, someone you can build a long-term relationship with as an investor, I've only heard great things from my fellow investors that have worked with John, but I really do encourage you guys to reach out. He's been sponsoring the Right Club for quite a while now. I've heard great things from their members. I just want to make more great resources available to you guys. So I know contractors are one of those black boxes. A lot of real estate investors struggle to find a good partner in regards to a contractor. I think John could be that contractor for you if you're in the greater Toronto, Hamilton area. So again, link in the video description down below. Feel free to check out John, him up, and tell Matt sent you.
No problem. Yeah. So this is an 1,100 square foot house. So the square footage will have a little bit to do with the price compared to this one. So this is a nice big house. This total project cost $125,000 with the appliances. So the upstairs we spent about 20. The downstairs is about 100, and there's quite a bit involved, furnaces and all that stuff. But the basement costs about 100 on average. The average basement suite I'm noticing is costing, like, for, you say, Hamilton, Brantford, it's costing about 85 plus tax. You're in that mid 90 range. The one's the nice thing about them. They're a tiny bit more, but they're actually quite a bit bigger. So, like, this customer wants 3-bedroom basements. So that's his thing. And so his projects are usually around that average, about 125 grand. And we do, that's everything, start to finish, permits, the whole deal.
Awesome. That's amazing. That hands-free solution is really, really valuable. So I think,
sorry about that. They're all corporate customers. They got jobs. They don't want to worry about it. They just, we talk once a week and give me this place rented.
Yeah. So I saw that there's another project here. So let's pull this guy up.
St. Catharines.
Okay.
St. Catharines has two like crazy zoning rules. It's very important to understand the zoning before you purchase property in St. Catharines. This is R2, which is an actual duplex, so you can use the whole basement. So this one right here is the biggest bathroom we've ever done. There was a weird layout, but there's a furnace room on the other side, so it's a massive bathroom. Lots of space. Again, floors, like floating vanities, nice. You can see it all looks the same. And so this one's a nice bedroom. This one, because of a head height issue, we couldn't. And sorry, this one had a boiler system, so there was no furnace here. So the basements tend to not need as much heating. So the customer decided to use baseboard heat on these places. But when you do that, you need an HRV system for circulating air, which was probably the biggest challenge on this job.
Okay.
And so that's where you can see the electrical panel. St. Catharines has really strict fireproofing rules. So that door that you see at the end there, that's actually a metal fireproof door ordered from Montreal, and that thing is worth $800.
Wow. They are serious.
As you can see, that's the old and that's the new.
Yeah. And do you mind just, especially because you're an electrician and stuff, if someone's new to this, they might not really see the attention to detail here versus here. Can you just kind of share any thoughts on that?
That gray box you guys see up there, that is extending the wires to move them upstairs. And then obviously right here is on the left-hand side. That's an old Federal Pioneer panel, which they do not make anymore. And these people cheated anyways. That gray box on the left-hand side is actually a fuse panel disconnect. And so that's just a cheat way to not have to call hydro. So the panel you see, the new one on the right hand side, that's a brand new updated panel, one of the most common one on the market. So you can see all the brand new wires kind of tucked in and organized. They're labeled, and so yeah, I mean, take a little bit of pride in the work.
Yeah.
Wires are a little bit tough to make them perfect, but it's a lot better than on the left hand side there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an example of the kitchen. You see the before and the after. You can kind of see it's missed. This one had a little bit of lower ceiling, so these ones are shorter cabinets, but it was it's got full size appliances, double sink, dishwasher, lots of storage space, and customers really. This customer is actually a real estate agent. First one he'd ever done. He was thrilled.
Oh, cool.
And this is the living room. That's a little bit wide angle, but you can see we cut that new window in. That's for natural light. That's not actually meant for egress. In a living room and in a basement living room, you have to have 5% natural light. So usually that's one of the big ticket items we do is we install large windows in basements, and as you can see, it kind of brighten up the place.
And then these white boxes or the white squares on the right hand.
So those are both also fire panels. They're both expensive, but they're actually both for the water meter system. So
gotcha.
Shut-off valve, and one's for the actual meter.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think we have to deal with those panels the same way in London.
No, Hamilton, London, Brantford, they don't have that issue. And as you can see, dark, dirty Starway, nice commercial carpet again, painted all up, and that it's nice and inviting.
All right, and then we're back to where we started. So, do you mind sharing with us, if you remember as well, what does a project like this cost? And this one looks like it was just the basement, really, that you were doing?
Just the basement, and this one, including taxes, was $97,000.
Okay, awesome. And let's maybe now talk a little bit about, basement suites in general.
Sure.
So if I'm new to the idea and I'm starting to look for a property and maybe I want to mimic a business model you were talking about earlier that your investor does or this realtor did, what are the things I should be looking for in a basement to figure out whether is it going to cost a lot more or what should I be looking for?
First is location, quite honestly. Like London, Brantford, Welland, they all have investor-friendly building departments, so they'll get you your permits fast, and so you're not carrying costs, and just how the process and building department is. The reason why I bring this up is because we deal in St. Catharines, where most of the time you're allowed 650 square feet max, and you're paying $10,000 to $15,000 more for that rent than for 1,100 square feet basement, 3 bedrooms. You're paying less, and that's just because of the building department. So when you're speaking to your agents, you're speaking to local investors, contractors, you want to know how the building department is, because it does make a difference in price and speed and just nice in general to work with. Once you do that, bungalows, like 40s, 50s, 60s bungalows, they make the nicest conversions. Or easiest conversions, I say, because I'm a big fan of backsplit conversions, but they're harder to come by, more expensive. So bungalows are the popular one. They're rectangles. They're easy. The only thing you got to deal with on those are old electrical, old plumbing, old HVAC, which is something. It's better to update it then. It's cheaper to do it now than it is going to be to do it later. So that's usually a little bit of an investment up front, but in Hamilton they have a driveway requirement, so that's very important for people to know, because if you can't get 2 side-by-side parking spots, you can't do a duplex without a major variance. Where the other cities allow tandem, so back and forth. It's not functional, but it's a big difference for getting the permit.
Absolutely.
The entry to the basement. Bungalows usually have second entries, but the side door ones are a lot nicer than the back door ones, because you're easier to get into your unit. You're not going around in a dark backyard at nighttime, that type of thing. And then head height is very important. If you got something that's an average of 6'5", it's going to be tough without doing some major structure and ductwork. Or if you got something around an average of 6'11", you're going to feel a nice basement. You're not going to feel like you're in a dungeon. So when you're shopping for those are kind of important. The ones that end up buying with the low ceilings, like, they're never the same. You can get sometimes you have to rip out furnaces and put ductless split systems. That can be $10,000, depending where you are. If you do that, you might have to put an HRV. That's another $5,000. Where if you can use traditional forced air, you're going to save a bunch of money, and it's nicer. So those are what I tell people to look for when picking a basement. And
yeah, I'm glad you touched upon the bungalow and the side entrances, and kind of building upon that. The projects we both looked at already had those side entrances, so you weren't looking at having to dig out or create a new entrance.
no,
What sort of additional costs is someone looking at if they're going to really be taking on a massive project?
so I've seen a couple of those done before. I priced a couple of them. Never had to do them myself. But the last one I had priced was between 17 and 20,000 to put a new entrance in. They have to they have to do footings and the whole thing. It's actually really nice when they do that, if it's in the budget or you've got a smoking deal, because when you do that, you actually have private entry, big glass. You're not dealing with the regular house, and that eliminates the need for egress windows because you have direct access outside and the privacy factor. So it's nice, but it's usually not in the budget for these projects to make sure that the numbers work.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that perspective. And I think one thing I'd really like to highlight for my audience is the fact that you understand where an investor is coming from, right? Like,
All right.
I think there's certain contractors that really only ever deal with like mom and pa that are doing their own personal residence, and people have an emotional attachment there, where investors, the numbers have to make sense.
And that's why I do not service the mom and pops. I will only work with investors for that reason. I've done it once. I did a project as a favor, and I regretted every second of it. So no, it's like understanding the numbers. It's all about numbers, and so that's where something I've spent a lot of time learning the last couple of years. Because when we first started doing this, we did it by accident. If anybody wants to know that story, I'll tell you. But but the last couple of years, we've spent a lot of time. I take some time to do a lot of the real estate events. You learn, maybe advertising, you learn at the same time. So, so that's the idea. Is now a lot of times I'm talking people out of things because it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and having that perspective from your contractor is amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to shoot this video with us. Before we wrap up, are there any other last minute tips that come to mind when talking about basement suites or income suites that an investor should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, a few things. One, if you're working with an agent, there is certain agents out there that are experts in this thing and they know what properties are going to work. That I find key. I think that the key is in the beginning when you buy these houses. Number two is when you're picking a contractor, no matter what area it's in, the experience with them is important, like the basement suites. We start out with experience, but like our first one was, you know what I mean? But if you're picking a contractor, it's the difference between getting a project done in 3 months and the project getting done in 8 months. Which is, and that's key. I'm not saying everybody can't do it, but the experience or having, and if you are going to work with a contractor that you just prefer and you're comfortable with, having like an engineer or a designer that's really experienced in the BCN that's really experienced in basement suites, they can lead the contractor through the process, because the fire separations and all that stuff is what's complicated. So, and I've seen that done, and people are very successful with it. You don't have to be like us, but I mean, we've done 73 basement suite conversions, so now it's natural, but it didn't start out that way. And so that's one I would recommend. If you're not working with an experienced contractor, at least have somebody with a support system behind you to make sure things don't go wrong.
Awesome. I love it. Those are some amazing tips. Thanks again, John. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to get in contact, is your website the best way, or what would you recommend?
Website's the best. That goes right to my system, so I know I got your info and I can contact you. Also Instagram, Facebook. We got a good page on Facebook, website, and then all our contacts on there. It'll go right to me.
Awesome. And just a reminder, guys, it's blackjackcontractinginc.ca. We'll throw a link in the video description down below in case you guys want to reach out to John. Again, just thanks so much for shooting this video.
Anytime, man.
Thanks again to John and Blackjack Contracting. If you guys want to get in contact with John, I'm going to throw a link in the video description down below to all of his contact information. Really encourage you guys to reach out and just chat with him. Seems like a great, friendly guy. We've met in the past in Right Club, so that's one of the best in real life meetup groups I've ever came across. Really encourage you guys in the Oakville, Burlington area to check out the Right Club. John's also a sponsor there. That's how we originally got connected. I've never actually worked with John personally, but know a lot of investors that have and really sing his praises. As well, what I like about John is he primarily only works with investors. And so to me, there is a difference between what a emotional homeowner wants and what us as sophisticated, unemotional real estate investors want. So if you guys want to reach out to John, again, link in the video description down below. Otherwise, did you guys enjoy this video? Would you like to see me talking with more contractors? Would you like to see more estimates or maybe deeper project deep dives, whether it be with John or other contractors? Jump in that comment section and let me know when it comes to contractors, renovations, and real estate, what questions do you guys still have that are holding you back from taking action? Because let's solve those answers, because I mean, it's 2020. The future is here. When are you going to get into real estate investing? If not now, when? Let's just do it. All right. Thanks, guys.